This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
For 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. You know, at the onset of the pandemic, the Trudeau government discovered that it had dismantled a critical and successful early warning system. When the world began border closures to protect citizens, Health Minister, do as I say, not as I do, held to ideology, decrying conspiracy theories, accusing critics of racism, parroting the People's Republic of China talking points, and outsourcing critical national interest decisions to a World Health Organization bent on destroying its own credibility. This Bill C-293 is not a pandemic inquiry. It barely begins to assess pandemic prevention. And it begs that we pay better attention to what decisions were made in that time. Dr. Barrett, in the past, you stated you're a fan of keeping masks on faces and defended mandates on social media. Let's see how that played out. The Alberta Medical Association survey cites 77% of parents reported that the mental health of their child aged 15 and over is worse than before the COVID-19 pandemic. And according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, during the first year of the pandemic, almost 25% of hospitalizations for children and youth were mental health related. Let me ask, these mandates destroyed the mental health of Albertans and Canadians, destroyed small businesses, and destroyed livelihoods of thousands of people who are now afflicted by an opioid crisis. Do you still stand by your comments today?
Not directly exactly related to the bill, but happy to take the rhetoric and start with a response to the question that I think was there, and address a little bit of the leap of logic in the middle. There are just as many studies that suggest that in certain settings and during certain points in the pandemic, that masks were valuable at community levels, and particularly not just for children, but for people in very vulnerable situations. So yes, the recommendations that I was making, and including now in acute care settings where there are vulnerable persons who are still vulnerable, I would definitely defend. I don't know that I needed to defend it. Do I think the science supports continued masking in certain situations to prevent airborne and or droplet-borne disease prevention? I do. And just to step back for a moment and address your gap between mental health and the pandemic being associated fully with masks, that clearly is a mistake because there were a myriad of things that developed many mental health issues, regardless if people lived in countries, provinces, or areas where masks were mandated or not. That's a multifactorial issue, but I do appreciate you asking the question.
Thank you for your response. I mean, for children between the ages of 6 and 14, 70% of parents reported that their children's health was worse off than before the pandemic. A large portion of this is cited due to the lost access to natural outlets for stress and anxiety, such as sports and after-school activities due to these restrictions. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Toronto Star featured angry quotes about the unvaccinated on the front page on August 26, 2021, including the bold sentence, "I have no empathy left for the willfully unvaccinated, let them die." Justin Trudeau added to the divisive rhetoric, "They don't believe in science or progress and are very often misogynistic and racist." This leads us as a leader and a country to make a choice. Do we tolerate these people? Dr. Barrett, do you agree with those sentiments?
So again, not specifically about the bill, but I could link it to the bill. I think that having pieces of misinformation, disinformation out there like that, particularly around vaccination, is part of the issue. And if this bill can actually develop a process where science is promoted, as well as the dissemination of science in a trustful way, we could probably get rid of a lot of those statements. So those are not statements that I would support. And I think it's a demonstration of overt mis and disinformation from certain individuals. So hopefully we can get beyond that. And maybe there's some use for a bill like this to promote it.
I'm stunned that the evolution of thinking has not taken place given the impact of what decisions were made during the pandemic. I mean, were the lockdowns valuable, Dr. Barrett? Mandates that force businesses to only have a few customers in at a time. Do you really think this is an effective pandemic approach?
Dr. Barrett, unfortunately, we are out of time, and I would, again, as I've suggested other times, that you could provide that in writing. Thank you.